Today's learning target is I can add and subtract mixed numbers. Today we're going to take a look at adding or subtracting mixed numbers. So numbers when you have a whole number and a fraction, like we see here. Now, some people when they solve problems like this like to write them this way: 7 4/9 plus or minus whatever you're doing plus 10 2/9. So they like to stack them. So when we're adding or subtracting the mixed numbers, we can add or subtract the whole numbers first. So in this case, 10 plus 7 is 17. Now I'm going to look at my fraction, and just like we did the other day, we're going to see, can we add or subtract these, in this case add them. Can we add them with our denominators being the same, which they are. So I can add those, they're ready to go. 4/9 plus 2/9 would be 6/9. Okay, and now, as always, I want to put it in simplest form. I can see I divide each of these by 3, and that's going to give me 17 wholes, and 2/3 would be my answer. So in this problem, you can see that I'm subtracting mixed numbers, but you also notice that the denominators aren't the same. So before I can subtract these, I've got to get my denominators to be the same. So in this one, I look at the 3, and I know I can count by 3s to get to 6. So that means I can times 3 by something to get 6, and that would be 2. So 3 times 2, and 1 times 2. So my equivalent fraction is 2 2/6, and I'm going to take that away from 8 5/6. Now, again, you could stack these like we talked, one on top of the other, or if this is easier, where you do them horizontally, you could do that. Alright, so now, in this case, I'm going to take the 8 minus the 2, and that will give me 6, and then I'll take 5/6 minus 2/6, and that's going to give me 3/6, and I know that 3/6 is the same as 1/2, so this is, in simplified form, going to be 6 1/2. So here we have a subtraction problem where I can see the denominators are the same, so it's ready to subtract. But I notice something when I look at this one. So I have 2 1/3, and I'm going to take away 1 2/3. Now I could start and I could say 2 minus 1, okay, but take a look here. I have 1/3 and I'm taking away 2/3. So I'm taking away more than what I have. So I'm going to have to do some regrouping. So to regroup, I'm going to take one of the wholes that from the number that I'm subtracting. So I'll take one of these wholes right here. I have 2 wholes. And I'm going to change that to a fraction that equals 1 whole. Now down here I've shown some different ways that I could write 1 whole, and I could have continued going. I could have done 6/6 or 7/7. But what I want to do is I want to change that whole number into a fraction that has the same denominator as right here, because I know when I add and the denominators are the same, it's really simple to add. So when I look at this, 3/3 would be what I wanted to change my whole number to, because I have thirds with this fraction right here. So my 2 wholes here now is going to become 1 whole and 3/3, because that's the same as 2 wholes. Now what I want to do is take this 3/3, this 1 whole, and I want to add it into here. So 3/3 plus 1/3 is 4/3. So now I have 1 whole, okay, so that's this whole right here, and I put this 3/3 in with this 1/3, and that becomes 4/3. And now I'm taking away 1 2/3. And now I'm ready to subtract. So I have 1 whole minus 1 whole is 0, and I have 4/3 minus 2/3, and I know from my subtracting that that's going to equal 2/3. So my answer is 2/3. If you come across a problem that looks like this, it's going to be fairly similar to the problem we just did, okay, where we have 8 wholes, and we're going to take away 3 3/4. So in this case, doing the 8 minus 3 won't be a problem, but I have to take 3/4 away from something, and you notice there's no fraction here to do that with. So just like our last problem here, I'm going to need to do some regrouping. So I want to take a look at this, and I want to change one of the wholes in this 8 wholes
into a fraction that equals 1 whole. Now I have lots of different options again of what fraction would equal 1 whole, right? These all equal 1 whole. I could keep going. But I want to make it easy. So I take a look at what I'm going to be subtracting. I notice I'm going to be subtracting fourths from it. So I'm going to choose the whole that's already in fourths. So let's take that 1 whole and change it to 4 fourths. So I'm going to take and I'm going to change that to 7 wholes and 4 fourths, because that's the same as 8 wholes. I have 7 wholes plus another 1 whole, that's 8. And I'm going to take away 3 and 3/4. Notice how I'm showing my work. You'll be doing that today as you're doing this. And now I've written, this is a pretty simple problem to solve, right? I can take my 7 wholes minus 3 wholes, and that will equal 4 wholes. And I have 4 fourths minus 3 fourths is 1/4. So there's my answer.
And that's how you add and subtract mixed numbers.